So I just took the logic board out there. I took a bit of time to take this out and inspect it, and it does look to be in impeccable condition. It's just a bit dirty. That's about it. A bit dusty. We got all 4 RAM slots populated. We also have the fuse cut, so I do know that that's you can either have one RAM, which is one stick in here, which would be populated, or you could have all 4. Now I can't remember if you need to get cut or to get 4 gigs of RAM working on this, but yeah, it's been cut and everything. I can't tell if these are 4 gig modules. I took one out. It doesn't have any markings on it, so I can't tell if it's a 4 megabytes or if it's a single megabyte or if it's 4 megabytes. So I'll find out once I power this machine on, I guess. But looking at this, we have that famous Motorola MC68000P8 processor. So that's pretty cool. We have an AMD processor, or an AMD chip here. I don't know what that actually does at the moment, but it's a really cool board. I really do like it, and it's the Apple computer, and we have our serial number. So I'm kind of doubting that the serial number matches the top case, so or the actual outer housing. So yeah, we have the floppy drive connector there. I have seen people actually convert the floppy drive to a hard drive. Now, I'm not too sure if I'll do this, but it's an option, I guess. Changing out that floppy drive for a hard drive. My only problem with that would be actually powering the damn thing, so I'd have to find power from a different source. But yeah, it seems to be somewhat complete, and the bottom side is immaculate, so that's good. No dry solder points or any cold solder points, or it's actually very shiny solder points, and you can only thank that to the actual shielding here that kept it safe, and it's relatively good condition actually. So thank you, shielding. You've done your job. Now we're gonna have to put you back on. No, one thing I will say: the battery did not leak, so this isn't an issue due to the battery. It's just dirty and abused. That's about it. So that's the logic board that we're dealing with, and fingers crossed I will bring this thing back to life. So I did end up kind of going ahead in video time, and I was going to record this entire disassembling of the Macintosh, but it got really convoluted, especially with discharging the CRT. I had to actually make some alligator claws and all the rest, so I just didn't have, it just didn't come to mind to actually pick up the camera. But yeah, so this is the floppy, and the analog board is right there. That is a bastard to get out, so it is, excuse my French, but actually I'll leave that for now, so I'll be back with that in 2 seconds. So the floppy drive, it may not look to be the most important part, but to get anything to load on this thing, it's completely useless without a floppy drive. So this thing is a Sony floppy drive. It's one of the auto eject ones, so there is a button there, but it does auto eject, hopefully. It was not aligned properly, so I'm going to try to align this correctly inside the case. And it's very dirty inside there, so I might have to take that apart and probably clean it out with contact cleaner. Had to do a similar thing with my NEC laptop. and it worked perfectly fine after that. So I'm just fingers crossed. Bit of contact cleaner, WD-40 contact cleaner, and a bit of lubricant in the mechanism wells, and we should have it functioning again. So that's that. It's really dirty inside this thing. I mean, like, the guy who sold this to me, he said it, I know it's kind of like buy at your own risk, but he said it was working. So the analog board, I'm going to put this on my lap. So what I can see from this, 1 second, I'm just going to, 1 sec, there we go. So, ooh, there we go. So, what I can see from this is this here has been arcing right here. There's a little bit of damage to the board. You can probably see a bit of burning there, a bit of black. Not good. But I'm hoping that the switch is still good, but right here is the problem child. So that there, that fuse is blown completely. It blew off its rocker pretty much. And also we have a blown 2.5 amp fuse right there. I don't see any other damage, luckily enough. But to be honest, it's not impossible for anything else to be damaged in there. So I'm going to hopefully just clean out this with alcohol, this switch I mean, replace that, and hopefully this analog board will be back to life. Like, I can't see any other, oh, sorry, my torch is losing its battery, and whacking it seems to keep it going. But there doesn't seem to be any blown or swollen caps as far as I can tell, and they do look original as well, which is okay, fair enough. I guess what I have to do is order one of these. It's an OR39, so I'm gonna have to find out on a spec sheet what an OR39's what its actual measurements are, and I'll probably pick one up tomorrow in my local Maplins and replace it out. But everything else on the board looks fine. What I'm worried about is looking on the other side of the board, in case one of the trace on this is torched or something like that. That's all I'd need. But as far as I know, if there is my suspicions is this has been causing this to arc or something like that. I can only check the backside, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it hasn't caused any further damage. But yeah, at least I've found out what could be causing the issue. There doesn't seem to be any burn marks on any other component on the board except for the more expendable parts, so that's also good news. I will say again, this off the CRT is a little bit nerve-wracking. I don't like getting electrocuted, and this thing apparently doesn't have a proper leak or drip thing, whatever it is. It takes a little bit longer for it to lose charge over time, so fingers crossed I can get this fixed. So after taking all the 4 pegs out of the shielding that was on the back of the board, looking over the switch and everything here, there doesn't seem to be any damage on the back side of the board. Now what I find kind of odd here is it looks like this has been worked on here. Even though the actual, when I was taking off the tabs didn't never look like they were tampered with. It looked like somebody has worked on this before. It's very odd. Now they may have changed the tabs out. I probably do the same thing myself. They're not exactly something that you can reuse again after you've taken them out, so I might just buy new ones. But the good news is there's no burning or anything on the bottom of this board. which is fantastic news. It means that I don't have to create new traces or cut into traces and fix them. Nothing as severe as my my Sega CD, so that is fantastic news. Also, just to say, when I don't make these videos just for YouTube. I actually use these as a reference as well. So when I'm actually scanning through the board and all the rest, it gives me an idea to look back, and if I've forgotten a screw or something like that, I can figure out which screw goes where and all the rest. I'm sure a lot of YouTubers do this, and they just kind of post up their results. But the sponge is missing here. This has been obviously professionally desoldered, so that's why the battery casing wasn't staying in properly. So that's not a bad thing. At least it was desoldered properly and not pulled off or have any ripped pads, which I was kind of worried about. So I can just resolder that back in and re-glue the battery case on, and hopefully use a better resin than this guy did. To be honest, I want to really be trying to break this. There's like 3 proper plastic tabs keeping the battery tray on this, and you want to be really trying to break this off to kind of break it off completely. So after a little bit of research online, it looks like I have blown my thermistor. It's a thermal resistor. That's the same thing right there that's broken. It's a thermal resistor that works depending on heat, apparently. So it is actually giving out, or it is actually working, but the problem is because it's actually broken, it's sparking, and when it sparks, it's arcing with this here, and then the whole machine blows the fuse, and then that's everything done. So that's exactly what's happening here, and that's why you got this black all over this one right here. So what's physically doing is it's powering up, like literally just all about to power up, and then this arcs here, and boom, we're done. Blows the fuse. I'm lucky. I will be lucky if anything else isn't actually broken on this. But everything else is looking okay. So even if I do replace this thermistor, there's no guarantee that this board will work, and I probably have to buy a new analog board anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy the thermistor. I'm going to clean off all the burnt residue off the switch. I'm lucky, very lucky, that this didn't melt anything inside the switch, because this here, or the switch is still working. I'm checking everything. Everything is coming back as what it's supposed to come back as and working. That seems to be my only problem, and that should get this up and running again. Once I replace it, that is. Right. So just finishing up there, after desoldering the thermistor from this. I am finding it very difficult to actually find out what the actual value of this is. I've checked the service log, and I'm going to have to check it again. It says SG220, so that's what I'm hoping I can find something with similar, something in the outside. It has no, I googled it, and I'm looking for either NTP or C something P, I can't remember which. It just means whether it measures it just basically the difference is one, when the temperature goes up, the voltage goes up, and the other one is if the temperature goes down, the voltage goes up still. I can't remember. I was kind of just learning about the thermistor because I haven't come across it too many times before, and I've never come across one blown, so I had a bit of learning time to do. While I was watching videos, I was actually working on this as well. Luckily enough, it looks like whoever was working on this machine before, they didn't reset it, so that's why it wasn't taking a disc. But now, as soon as I reset it, it is taking a disc, and all I do is just perfect. It works. It's just very dirty, so it is. That's all. Still clean it up. I think I'm actually kind of glad it wasn't open like this, because the heads would have gotten extraordinarily dirty, I'd say. And yeah, that's good news, at least. Good news at last. I won't have to clean out this with. It seems to be just dusty. That's all. I can live with dust, to be honest. But I will clean it anyway, just to kind of. I might just stick a bit more lubricant, but it does work. To the point that I can put a disc in and I can eject it, and there's a little hole on the side of the Macintosh there. If you're watching this video, you know there's a little hole right there where I can just jam something in and pop out the disc if I have any problems with that. So basically that's where I'm at right now. I'm now at an impasse. I can't really do much else now. I have replaced that little fuse right there. I have to get the thermistor. It may take a couple of days before I get that, if I cannot get it in my local Maplins. So this is me done for now, and fingers crossed that should fix the issue. If you like this video, please rate, subscribe, do what you have to do, and fingers crossed we have a video after this. Cheers guys, thanks, bye.